Hello everyone, and I'm back with one of my next Titled Tuesday coverages. This game is my game against Anna Cramling in our Titled Tuesday match. And in this game, it was an extremely wild game. And just to put the point in here for now, in this game I actually had a 35.2 accuracy, but I still won, while my opponent had a 52.9, which is actually significantly better than mine, but I was still able to win because of all the blunders that took place. The Titled Tuesday time control is 3 minutes with a 1 second increment, so it's not that long, and time trouble was what made this a fun and wacky game. And this victory by me was not really deserved because of a few catches and mistakes, but I'll let you think about that. So in this game, white plays d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, the Nimzo Indian. I've done the complete Nimzo Indian repertoire in my YouTube as well, so you can check that out if you really wanted to. But in this game, I messed up my repertoire completely. After queen c2, b6, e4, the trade is normal here, and here I played d6, which is also one normal move. e5, takes. So this line is where white sacrifices this pawn but gets a lot of counterplay. And this line was a line that I played extremely badly against. After knight fd7, queen e4, c6, my opponent in this position played bishop a3. And I wasn't so sure about how I should be able to play against this move, because the move bishop a3 cuts against my king, and I kind of forgot the theory. However, in this case, if I played f5, I would have had a completely safe position. f5 attacks the queen, so if the queen moves somewhere like queen d3 in this position, I can just take on e5, and I'm completely fine here. And if I don't, and if my opponent plays queen f3, knight e5, so my opponent has to play something like queen e3, but after something like queen e3, here black can play knight a6, followed by c5 and knight a7 type ideas. And that is an extremely common motif. So, after we come back, in this game, I forgot the theory and I played bishop b7, which allows my opponent to play bishop d6. So now c5 ideas are completely out of the box now. And because of this, now I have a few options. In the game, I play knight a6, although queen g5 is the best move to develop this queen out and maybe have decisions to take on e4 and trade. Although, if I really wanted to, f5 is also a big option, though now white is already winning. So just one mistake was all I needed to make this position bad, and knight a6 just exacerbates this. And after queen g4 would have been the best move, but my opponent played knight f3, and now I could have played f5 again. As you will see, this move f5 will come up in tons of positions. Knight ac5. Now my opponent plays queen g4, and here, if I castle, which I can't, so that's out of the question. If I play rook g8, which is what I played in the game, it's still not that good, because here white just brings his rook to d1, and now all of a sudden my position is just dead. I have no space, my queen is trapped, I can't really get to the long side. So I play h6 because I had to waste a move. And then here was the first accident of my opponent. And here my opponent must have made a mouse slip. She must have wanted to play bishop e2, but played king e2 instead. And then after this, I played bishop a6. And then my opponent brought our king back to e1. But those two tempi surprisingly didn't alleviate the situation much, because after I've done all this maneuver, I weakened the c6 square, and as you will see, that was a big problem. Here, bishop e2 was played, but now queen b7, and here knight d4. And after long castles, my opponent played bishop f3. And here, white is attacking this pawn twice, so take your time, and I want to see if you can find the move that I should have played to alleviate the situation. Okay, if you found it, congratulations, and I hinted about this a bit earlier. The correct move here is f5. And the main reason for this is now you're getting rid of this important queen road here, After something like queen h3, then you can protect your pawn with knight b8. And after this, if white wants to take, you can just take that bishop, and knight c6 is not that big of a threat because you can trade rooks and just bring your queen to c7. And now, as you can see, white is only up a pawn, but now the c4 pawn is really becoming a huge weakness. And here, black is completely fine, perhaps even better. In this position, though, I did not even see the threat to my c6 pawn. And as you can see down here, I still have 1 minute. Almost 2. And here I just decided to take the c4 pawn, which is completely losing. After knight c6, here I'll just take you through a few reasons why I'm completely losing. Firstly, knight e7 is an immediate mate threat. My bishop is hanging. And now this bishop is also protecting the knight and hitting my queen. And somehow I was able to escape this in this game, even with the mistakes my opponent made at the start. Here, knight takes c5 is the only move, practically, and bishop takes c5 was played. Now, bishop takes c5 was obviously the wrong idea. The correct move was supposed to be knight takes c5, attacking the queen and double attacking this bishop, so even if I protect it with my queen, white can still take. And now white's 2 pieces up for nothing. However, my opponent played bishop takes c5 out of strange reasons, and here, rook takes d1, king takes d1, and here I played queen d7 check. And white is obviously still winning, but after knight d4, I'm suddenly completely winning. And take your time, and I hope that you can spot the only winning move. The next best move is still losing. Okay, so if you found this move, congratulations, because if you were paying attention before, you probably could have guessed what the correct move is. Now, in the game, I played knight d3, and this move is not as good, although it does attack the bishop and does stay active. But as I hinted at before, the correct move is again f5. I don't know why this move is so good. It's been good in the opening, a few moves in the middle game, and still good right now. But the main reason for this is now white's queen has almost nowhere to go. If queen f4, then queen a4 check, and suddenly white's position on the other side is broken. Because normally white will want to play king c1 or king e1 to escape, but now knight d3 will fork the queen. But in this case, I put knight d3 immediately, and that allows bishop g3, which is not as good. And here, I have another winning move, and you could guess it's f5. But I, again, did not play it. I played queen a4 check, which looks extremely intuitive at first, but it's actually not the best move. After king d2, queen takes a2, king e3. Surprisingly, now, after the king started the king walk, which is the main plan of this whole game, white's still completely winning here. White's still up a full piece. But here, I decided to play the move finally f5. But here, white has an extremely easy escape plan. So take your time, and I hope that you can spot how white can just escape all this troubles. And if you found it, congratulations. Just simply take that pawn. And after this, black's king is way out in the open, a lot more dangerous than white's king. And here, for example, after king d8, white can play bishop c6, giving the king a bit more room and also threatening d7 and also protecting e8. But here, black has to play something like this. And, well, black's completely losing here. It's quite obvious. However, in this position, rook g6 was played instead. Or queen g6, I'm sorry. And here, there was an extremely nice tactic, f4, which forces the bishop here. And queen takes f2. But as you can see, I only have 23 seconds. My opponent only has 27. So it started getting sharp after the king went to e4. Knight c5 check. The king went to e5, which is forced moves. And here I made a big blunder. I played knight d7, but I should have just gone back because beforehand, instead of knight c5, beforehand I should have played rook f8. And this move is a big killer. It attacks the f4 pawn. And make sure that after knight c5, king e5, there's going to move rook f5 sometimes after more threats everywhere. So basically, that king is just completely doomed. But knight c5, king e5, knight d7, and here king d6 and rook d8, which looks nice because now the king's out of check, so black needs to be more intuitive. After king e7, here I missed the winning move. So take your time, and I hope that you can spot this. This is extremely easy. And the correct move is just queen h4 check. And now I completely missed these checks, and white has to play bishop g5. After h takes g5, this position is better. Black is not down the material anymore, and well, there's a king on e7, so this is pretty much losing. However, after king e7, I played queen a2, and here white has a beautiful tactic that could have ended the game on the spot. However, as you can see on the time, white only has 5 seconds while I had 12.5. However, anyway, take your time, and I hope that you can spot this beautiful tactic. Okay, so if you found it, congratulations. The correct move in this position is bishop b7. Now, what does this move do? I have to take. And now king takes d8, and after the rook is gone, the knight's hanging, and there's no way to attack the safe king, which is on the back rank. Remember that kings on the edges are always extremely safe. And here, after this, after queen e4, queen a3, bishop d6 was played, and here I could have played queen takes d6, but now this is still lost. And after rook f8, king g6, bishop d5, which is winning now, queen d3, rook f6, king h5, rook takes f4, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, knight c6, g6, king takes, queen d6, take the knight, and now my opponent only had less than 2 seconds, and this position is completely lost. And after rook h4, this was the game, which was a bunch of moves skipped, so here's the full continuation. And finally, I want to take you through a few mysterious parts of this game. Firstly, during the king walk, most of the moves are fours. However, at this moment, after the queen went to e4, the evaluation, as you can see right here, is that black is only slightly better, meaning that this position is almost equal, and that is something hard to bear. And in this position, black could have played rook e8, a beautiful move. After king takes e8, there would be knight f6, forking. That would have let black win. However, white can play king f7, and here bishop d5 has to be played. And after queen b1, rook f8, king takes g7, queen takes, rook takes, and we get into this wild endgame where black is a bit better, but after something like bishop takes d5, e takes d5, g3, rook g4, king takes h6, as you can see, this position is still extremely sharp, and this endgame is approximately equal, so that would have been a wild transition. However, queen a3 check was what I played. After bishop takes bishop d6, rook, my bad. After queen a3, my opponent played king f7 instead of bishop g6, and that allows me to move rook f8. And after king g6, bishop d5 shuts down all this activity, and I'm able to bring my pieces. Here soon, as after queen d3, rook f6, king h5, rook takes f4, and I'm completely winning here. So, as you can see, that was a wild game from my opponent accidentally mouse-living with king e2, going back to e1, and after going back to e1, as you remember the whole game, going to d1, then coming back to d2, to e3, to e4, to e5, to d6, to e7, to f7, to g6, to h5, to g6 back, to h4, to h3, and finally the game ended. So as you can see, the king started here, it went here, it came back, it went to d1, went to d2, then went to e3, e4, e5, d6, e7, f7, g6, h5, back again, h4, h3. So as you can see by these lines, the king made quite a bit of moves, especially because this game, although it was looking extremely sharp, was only 45 moves long, meaning that there was plenty of play going on in this game. And this is my game against Anna Cramling in the Titled Tuesday. and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you thought it was wild, then maybe consider subscribing to my channel to get more of my wild chess videos. So I'll see you soon. Bye.